Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Both team members had already reached the edges of the stage. Ma Xiaodao and Dai Yueheng still led the line over on Shrek Academy's side. Ling Luochen stood behind the both of them, followed by Shusansha and Bei Bei. Jiang Nan Nan and He Kai Tu stood the furthest back. This combination wasn't very good. There were 3 assault-type Soul Masters, 1 defense-type Soul Master, 1 agility-type Soul Master, 1 control-type Soul Master, and 1 Soul Engineer. There were no auxiliary-type Soul Masters among them. Of course, no one knew that He Kai Tu was a food-type Soul Master. They already held cigars in their mouths, except for Ma Xiaodao and Jiang Nan Nan. Shrek Academy's formation was lackluster, and there was nothing special about it. It even seemed a little redundant as 4 rows were formed. The Sun Moon Soul Academy's formation also didn't seem impressive. It was shaped like a cone, with Ma Rulong at the tip and the rest forming a triangle behind him. Both teams were extremely focused. At the moment when they reached the edges of the stage, the Heaven Fiend Doluo Huang Jinshu announced, "Match, start." The finals of the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament had finally begun. In the next moment after Huang Jinshu announced the start of the match, both teams' formations changed, and a shocking scene appeared. It seemed as if Shrek's team and the Sun Moon Soul Academy's team had agreed on this beforehand. Both teams' members gathered towards the center of the stage and formed one row. It was no longer Ma Xiaodao at the front for Shrek Academy, but Shusansha. After the Sun Moon Soul Academy's team formed their row, Lin Shi switched to the front of their formation. As the formations changed, both teams unleashed their martial souls. The Sun Moon Soul Academy's team also used their soul tools. Everyone from Shrek stood in one straight line. Shusansha lifted his shield of the Xianming turtle and burst forward in gigantic steps. The rest also followed him as they unleashed their martial souls. The Sun Moon Soul Academy's team did not move on the other side. To Soul Engineers, sufficient distance was required for them to unleash their powers. Lin Shi immediately whipped out a soul tool, which was also a shield, though it only looked as big as the most ordinary tray. The golden shield flashed with radiance on its surface, and a yellow halo spread out from it. It turned into a light shield that reached almost 2 meters in diameter. Not only did it protect him, but it also protected the rest of the Sun Moon Soul Academy's team behind him. Those who were sharp could tell what the Sun Moon Soul Academy's team was doing. The reasoning behind their actions was very simple. They were guarding against Shusanshi's mysterious underworld displacement. The mysterious underworld displacement had been very useful against Shrek's opponents on many occasions. Once Shusansha completed the displacement, his repeated displacements would cause Shrek's strategies to become extremely strange. It wouldn't be a good thing for the Sun Moon Soul Academy team if he substituted someone over or sent someone away. Only Lin Shi could be seen as the Sun Moon Soul Academy team stood in a straight line. Lin Shi was huge and blocked everyone behind him. Now that he had unleashed this shield, he could block the effect of Shusanshi's mysterious underworld displacement. He was already prepared to be switched over. Everyone from the Sun Moon Soul Academy team was pleased when they saw Shusansha rushing to the front of Shrek's team. To them, their plan was already pretty flawless. At the very least, Shusansha was unable to use his mysterious underworld displacement. This was only the formation changes of both teams. An even more intense battle was about to ensue following this. Countless balls of light condensed from soul power and unleashed using soul tools were released from the bodies of the Sun Moon Soul Academy's team members behind Lin Shi in an instant. These balls of light rapidly spread to both sides and into the air before engulfing Shrek Academy's team at an alarming speed along with a fizzing, ear-piercing sound. The balls of light were still gathering at an increased speed as they flew into the air. From their trajectory, they were headed towards all 7 of the Shrek's team members without any wastage. The Sun Moon Soul Academy's Soul Engineers were all at least Class 5. Although their soul powers were enhanced using different medicines and secret methods, and were incomparable to Soul Masters, their soul powers were indeed still very strong. Through a soul tool commanded by a Soul King, its powers were even superior to the soul skills used directly by a Soul King. How much more powerful would a skill that was unleashed by so many Class 5 Soul Engineers together be? Against the Imperial Profound Academy, the Sun Moon Soul Academy's team had used such an all-round soul tool to suppress their opponent. They had also forced the Imperial Profound Academy's members down from the competition stage through an incessant and relentless attack. They used a similar strategy against Shrek. They didn't hope to harm their opponent, but wanted to suppress them so that they couldn't get close to them. However, a beam of white light also shot into the sky from amidst the 7 Shrek members, just as their balls of light spread. This beam of light revealed a white crescent. Following that, it turned into countless streaks of white light that poured down on the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy's 7 members. Shusansha was the best among all the Soul ancestors in terms of defense. The mysterious underworld shield removed all the shockwaves under the effect of the mysterious underworld force, and his advancing footsteps weren't affected at all. He seemed to enter the core of the explosion, and the distance between both parties was decreased to less than 70 meters. The Sun Moon Soul Academy's attack did not stop. They had great chemistry together as Class 5 and above Soul engineers. As the first ball of light flew out, the second wave of long-range Soul tools was also initiated. Radiances, light balls and cannon shells that many from Shrek had never seen before started to flood towards them. But Shrek Academy also unleashed its second strike at this point. Amidst a bright, fiery whistle, a dazzling phoenix flame shot into the sky. After the White Tiger Meteor Shower, Ma Xiaotao's strongest soul skill, the Phoenix Meteor Shower, was also unleashed. Dai Yueheng's White Tiger Meteor Shower was only a 1,000-year soul skill. But Ma Xiaotao's Phoenix Meteor Shower was her 6th soul skill, and was also a 10,000-year soul skill. It must mean that she had already prepared to attack at the instant the formation was set up, for it to tightly follow the White Tiger Meteor Shower after it was unleashed. The burning flames caused the area within the competition stage to heat up tremendously. A Phoenix Meteor Shower that was at least 5 times bigger than the White Tiger Meteor Shower descended from the sky. Not only were the meteors very concentrated, but they were also extremely powerful. The air seemed to distort completely, and the 108 Soul Masters had to unleash all their soul power to prevent the barrier from collapsing. A reverberating explosion sounded at the center of the two teams. Ma Xiaodao once again proved how strong she was. Her Phoenix Meteor Shower suppressed all the soul tools from the Sun Moon Soul Academy, and even attacked their formation. The Phoenix Meteor Shower superseded the White Tiger Meteor Shower in terms of power and duration. Shrek Academy's 2 Soul Emperors decided to attack their opponents at long range. No matter how strong the Sun Moon Soul Academy's soul tools were, they had to land to have any effect. Since this was the case, Shrek could just prevent their attacks from landing. Soul tools did not unleash real soul skills. Their attacks couldn't be controlled the moment they were released. Under Ma Xiaodao and Dai Yueheng's exquisite control, their opponents' long-range attacks were all stopped. Even if there were any flaws, Shusanshi's mysterious underworld shield would prevent those behind him from being hurt with his all-round defense. However, the explosive force was already beyond Shusanshi's defense capability, as the second shockwave was too powerful. He had no choice but to stop in his tracks 50 meters away from his opponents. The Sun Moon Soul Academy also whipped out 3 layers of barriers to resist the Phoenix Meteor Shower. All 7 of them were protected within the barriers. After that, a layer of golden light that everyone from Shrek Academy was familiar with lit up on Lin Shi's body. No, it wasn't just 1 layer. It was 2 layers. The first layer was an ordinary invincible barrier that blocked Ma Xiaotao's Phoenix Sky Whistle. Following that, there was a bigger layer of golden light that spread from his body. From the outside, it engulfed both his and Ma Xiaotao's body within it. Ma Xiaotao's evil phoenix flames were prevented from being unleashed. An explosive boom sounded from within the 2 layers of barriers. Within the barriers, intense phoenix flames rose. But Ma Xiaotao's determined strike was blocked off by Lin Shi. However, Lin Shi did not have it well either, as he blocked Ma Xiaotao's attack. While the invincible barrier was defensively sound, it still had to absorb a huge amount of the user's soul power before its defensive capabilities could be displayed. His soul power had been depleted tremendously after using 3 Class 5 soul tools, and his face had turned pale. The Sun Moon Soul Academy coordinated among themselves very well. Michael also unleashed a shield when Lin Shi leaped up. This caused Shusanshi's mysterious underworld displacement to fail. At this point, a streak of golden-red radiance shot out from Michael's shoulder. Shusansha had seen this golden-red radiance before. It was a frightening attack by a Class 7 soul tool. It was also an offense that was focused on one point. The barrier erected by the 108 Soul Masters couldn't handle this frightening presence either. This streak of golden red radiance came at the perfect time. Lin Shi had leapt up to block Ma Xiaodao, and Shu Sanshi's mysterious underworld displacement was unleashed. A black line was blocked by Michael's shield, and the golden red radiance also appeared at this instant. Its target was Shu Sansha. He had no choice but to resist it forcefully, as he had just used his soul skill. Not only did this golden red radiance appear, but countless streaks of radiance also shot out from Michael's back. These lights were purplish blue in color, and were abnormally dazzling. After these lights shot in the sky, they turned into parabolas and flew towards Shrek's team. An unexpected situation occurred at this point. A sly look drifted across Shu Sanshi's eyes, although he had appeared frantic earlier. Following that, his body disappeared, and he was replaced by someone else. The person who was switched over was none other than the preparatory team leader of the Sun Moon Soul Academy's team, Xiao Hongchen. The mysterious underworld displacement succeeded just like that. If one were to look carefully, they would see that the black line unleashed by Shu Sanshi's mysterious underworld displacement had made a strange turn, as it was blocked by Michael's shield. It had turned in front of Michael and struck Xiao Hongchen. This change was too rapid. No one expected that Shu Sanshi's mysterious underworld displacement could be used like that. In the waiting area, Hu Yuhao lowered his head, and his eyes repeatedly shone with golden light. They regained their normal look very quickly. There was no way it could be controlled so precisely if it were only by Shu Sanshi's mysterious underworld displacement. However, his mysterious underworld displacement became different with the guidance of Hu Yuhao's spiritual detection. At this point, the purplish-blue radiance from the sky had already descended. On Shrek's side, a huge shield of ice had appeared mid-air. Not only that, but countless streaks of light were shining towards the purplish-blue radiance. A series of dazzling fireworks seemed to have been released. Ling Luo Chen and He Kai-tu made their moves now. However, that purplish-blue radiance was much more difficult to deal with than they had expected. After being struck by He Kai-tu's rays, the purplish-blue radiance stopped in mid-air. Following that, streaks and streaks of light spread rapidly and became like a cage that moved downwards. Since Xiao Hongchen was switched over there, Shu Sansha was also switched to the other side. Immediately after he was switched over, he unleashed the mysterious underworld quake that was enhanced by the mysterious underworld force without any hesitation. A black halo engulfed the other 5 from the Sun Moon Soul Academy and delayed the martial souls that they had unleashed. Shu Sansha did it flawlessly. After he used the mysterious underworld quake, he did not stop. He straightened his body and dashed out again. The mysterious underworld displacement shone again, and Dai Yueheng had also made a dash forward. If the mysterious underworld displacement succeeded once again, this second Soul Emperor from Shrek Academy would be brought over as well. Lin Shi and Ma Xiaodao had both landed on the ground. The last second of the invincible barrier's 3 seconds remained. It was not a good thing to be in close contact with Shrek Academy's 2 Soul Emperors. At least it wasn't what the Sun Moon Soul Academy hoped to see. This would only lead to their defeat. However, the black line from the mysterious underworld displacement was destroyed at the next moment. Shu Sansha and Dai Yueheng didn't manage to switch positions. It was the purplish-blue radiance that had stopped the mysterious underworld displacement. That was a huge purplish-blue barrier that had trapped Shrek Academy's remaining 5 members within. When the black line from the mysterious underworld displacement reached it, the purplish-blue radiance surrounded and destroyed it. Shu Sansha was a little dumbfounded now, and cursed to himself. He lifted his shield and struck towards Ma Rulong, who was not far away. That purplish-blue radiance was unleashed by Ma Rulong. It was another Class 7 soul tool that he had developed himself. Shu Sanshi's choice of offense was quite on point. Ma Rulong had unleashed 2 Class 7 soul tools consecutively, and also needed some time to regenerate his soul power. Shu Sanshi's sudden appearance and surprise attack with the mysterious underworld quake had caused Ma Rulong to be struck from the side. But the instant the shield of the Xianming turtle struck Ma Rulong, a layer of intense white light shone from his body. A white bracelet on Ma Rulong's right hand was crushed, and that white light also caused Shu Sansha to be violently jerked away. It was the repelling bracelet, a single-use Class 5 soul tool. At this point, everything was a mess. The spectators were also unable to tell which side held the advantage. Ma Rulong shouted, "Second plan, fight the enemy separately." As he spoke, his head lit up with an intense black light. A huge helmet appeared on his head. After unleashing his martial soul, his head was much bigger than before. This was the effect of the big-headed spirit ape. After Hu Yuhao suppressed her evil phoenix fire, Ma Xiaotao's cultivation managed a breakthrough once again. She reached rank 68, which was something even she herself had not expected. She didn't expect to achieve such rapid progress. She was only 2 ranks away from a 7-ringed soul sage. What was the concept behind rank 68 soul power? Her soul power was much greater than Dai Yueheng's or Ma Rulong's, who were also soul emperors. The higher a soul master's cultivation, the greater the gap in soul power between the ranks. In terms of soul power, Ma Rulong and Dai Yueheng were still inferior to her even if they combined their power. The invincible barrier did block Ma Xiaotao's phoenix sky whistle. But that strike was also unleashed by Ma Xiaodao with her full power. The temperature within the 2 invincible barriers reached a frightening level in an instant. Lin Shi was originally a little elated. He thought that he had stopped the strongest team member from Shrek and earned enough time for his compatriots. His action could be considered noble. He was also no longer needed against Ma Xiaodao next. Furthermore, he had other methods to use. The invincible barrier blocked out the attack and temperature. However, the frightening heat was unleashed between the 2 layers of barriers as the invincible barrier disappeared. The Sun Moon Soul Academy's greatest mistake was to underestimate the evil phoenix fire's temperature and explosiveness. If there were only a single invincible barrier that blocked Ma Xiaodao could still continue to attack, and wouldn't be trapped for long. The might of the phoenix sky whistle also spread to the others. But it was still just spreading. At this moment, even Ma Xiaodao couldn't control the heat contained within the strike that shot out. The smile that was previously on Lin Shi's face disappeared in the next instant. It had disappeared completely. Even the air seemed to be left with some of the smug smile he had had earlier. Ma Xiaodao was also in a daze. At the moment when the invincible barrier disappeared, she felt a wave of heat that suddenly spread. Lin Shi disappeared after that. At this point, the dark red light projection that Ma Rulong had unleashed was forced back as it collided with the wave of heat and revealed its form. It was an ape that was not more than 1.5 meters tall. Its arms were very long as they reached the ground. Its dark red fur gave off a smooth and clear feeling, but its eyes were golden and flashed with a weird golden radiance. After being forced back by the wave of heat, it jumped rapidly on the spot. It was groaning in pain, as if it had been burnt. Xiao Hongchen had relied on his auto-activated advanced invincible barrier to block Ma Rulong's strike within the lightning cage, but the protective barrier that flickered with golden light had been greatly weakened. The protective layer of golden light on his body was called the impregnable wall, and it was a Class 6 soul tool. This soul tool had to be activated by a soul master's own soul power, or maintained through a continual injection of soul power. The reasons why invincible barriers were so precious was because their defensive capabilities were sufficiently powerful, and also because they could be activated with a fixed amount of soul power. Afterwards, the special jewel contained within the soul tool would provide enough energy to maintain the protective barrier for 3 seconds, and it would have the defensive power of an 8-ringed soul doluo. The only problem was that it was a disposable item, and thus was a little wasteful and extravagant by nature. However, the impregnable wall on Xiao Hongchen's body was far more advanced. Its defensive powers were slightly inferior to invincible barriers, but it was just enough to fend off attacks from Class 7 soul tools. Furthermore, it wasn't a disposable item. This soul tool had 2 salient features. It could be used repeatedly, and it could automatically activate itself. That meant that if Xiao Hongchen came under attack and wasn't able to react, the impregnable wall would deploy its mechanisms automatically, which made it a lot more useful than the invincible barrier. Of course, there were pros and cons to everything. The problem was that the impregnable wall absorbed Xiao Hongchen's soul power automatically after activating itself in order to provide protection. Ma Rulong's golden Class 7 soul tool was only a single attack, but it possessed formidable destructive powers. The impregnable wall did block the strike, but as he was a soul king, Xiao Hongchen's soul power was immediately consumed by more than 50%, which caused his expression to change to one of immense fear. Furthermore, as long as that cage called the Net of Lightning was around, the members of Shrek's team were not the only ones caught inside. He was trapped within as well. This proud young man displayed a battle prowess worthy of his high and respected status within the Sun Moon Empire's team at this critical moment. The impregnable wall's appearance was too similar to the invincible barrier, thus Shrek's team didn't continue their assault at the first possible moment. Instead, they waited for that invincible barrier's time to naturally run out. Xiao Hongchen took advantage of this grace period and unleashed his own martial soul. A flash of golden light flickered, and a leg grew out from his buttocks behind him. This leg was completely golden, and a layer of blinding gold blanketed his entire body. The three-legged Xiao Hongchen crouched a little, and 3 of his 2 yellow, 2 purple and 1 black soul rings radiated. He arched his back faintly, and little humps protruded from his clothes, each one exuding a bright golden hue. His first and third soul rings lit up at the same time, before he waved both of his hands and hurled out several hundred metal balls. These metal balls instantly hovered in mid-air, and encircled his entire body. A strange scene then occurred. Row after row of metal cannon barrels grew out just like that, with the metal balls as the core. The next moment, a terrifying hurricane of soul power exploded the moment the impregnable wall was withdrawn. The Shrek team members naturally didn't just stand around to watch. Dai Yueheng stood in front of everyone the moment Xiao Hongchen erupted and used the White Tiger's shield, the White Tiger's Vajra transformation, and the White Tiger's Devil God transformation, at the same time. All 3 were powerful amplifying soul skills, and boosted his defensive powers to the highest possible level. He was the vice-captain, and also a soul emperor, and he was under the audience's watchful eye and his own father's scrutiny. There was no way he was going to back off. A searing ball of white light suddenly flew out from beside Dai Yueheng. He Kai-Tu had started channeling power inside the super energy-gathering soul cannon from the start of the battle, and released his own attack at this moment. However, he was also a soul engineer, and he was being suppressed far too much. His super energy-gathering soul cannon possessed power greater than normal class 5 soul tools, but faced with Xiao Hongchen's 128 soul cannon's unified assault, his super energy-gathering soul cannon was instantly dispelled by that frightening blanket of light. He only managed to obstruct it momentarily, as the petrifying layer of light bore down upon them once more. Ling Luo Chen did all she could as well. She used her icy staff to release wall after wall of ice, and launched an ice brilliant halo at Xiao Hongchen at the same time. However, those ice walls were simply unable to resist the coordinated assault from Xiao Hongchen's class 5 soul tools, and every single layer was shattered in an instant. Dai Yueheng's face grew solemn and serious. His buddies were right behind him, and he couldn't dodge this attack no matter how much he wanted to. He took a deep breath, and vigorous streaks of white light flickered, while he raised his soul emperor-level soul power to the highest possible level. He needed to withstand this strike no matter what. Before Xiao Hongchen was swapped over with the mysterious netherworld displacement, who would have thought that this Soul King was actually this powerful? He was able to activate so many Class 5 Soul tools at the same time, and this was clearly beyond a Soul King's limits. Even Class 6 Soul Masters would have probably failed at this endeavor. Ma Rulong had never controlled so many Soul Cannons at the same time. A smile broke out across Xiao Hongchen's face. This was the first time he had put his maximum power on full display, even though this strike was as powerful as it could get. However, he had absolute confidence that Dai Yueheng wouldn't be able to withstand his attack, and he would be severely injured even if he did. His own soul power would be almost completely exhausted after this strike, but he would be satisfied if he could eliminate a Soul Emperor from his opponent's camp, and better still if he could even wound the others furthermore. He still had the strength to retreat safely. The golden sacrifice filled the metal elements that had come together with fire to produce formidable power. Using these 2 soul skills at the same time gave him the energy to fire so many soul cannons at the same time. The toll on his soul power was only present on the soul skill, and the energy used to support the soul cannons all came from the metal elements. He was known as the Sun Moon Empire's #1 prodigy since the beginning of its history, for his impressive ability to control metal. His overall battle prowess wasn't inferior to Ma Rulong by much. If his level of mastery caught up with Ma Rulong, his abilities would irrevocably overtake his team leaders. However, a person that nobody expected suddenly stepped in front of Dai Yueheng, just as Xiao Hongchen thought he had it. Her figure was tall and slim, but appeared young and immature. Yet, there was a tinge of unwavering determination on her pretty face. Thick and vigorous golden light rose from her body and formed a light barrier that protected her inside. Who was she? When Xiao Hongchen clearly saw the young girl that was far more good-looking than his younger sister, Meng Hongchen, his actions became a little sluggish, as he couldn't bear to hurt her. However, his assault had already been fully unleashed. Withdrawing it now was impossible even if he wanted to. Who was she? She was the #1 beauty in Shrek Academy's outer courtyard, and could be said to be the one with the least salient features in this competition from Shrek Academy's team, Jiang Nannan. Just as that terrifying strike was about to land, Jiang Nannan went beyond everyone's expectations and stepped in front of Dai Yueheng. In the next moment, her figure was swallowed by the soul cannons that loomed over everyone. No, Nan Nan, Shusansha looked on from far away. His pupils widened in an instant as the blood in his face receded, and a petrifying aura was immediately unleashed from within his body. His strength of the Xuanwu was finally triggered once more in the moment Jiang Nan Nan placed herself in danger. Ma Xiaodao was standing beside him. At this very moment, she raised her hand without warning and chopped down on his neck. Shusanshi's strength of the Xuanwu had yet to erupt when he was knocked unconscious. Ma Xiaodao raised her leg and kicked him off the competition stage. Wang Yang stood up abruptly below the stage when he saw Ma Xiaodao's actions, and his eyes sparkled as he muttered under his breath, "She's finally a qualified team leader." Just as Ma Xiaodao kicked Shusansha off the stage, Ma Rulong's dark red monkey had arrived before her. The monkey cooed in front of her, and its originally scrawny and tiny frame suddenly exploded in size. It had become an enormous ape that was over 4 meters long in the blink of an eye. It raised its giant fists and hammered them down on Ma Xiaodao's head as the dark red fur all over its body stood on end, resembling a layer of iron needles. This wasn't a skill. It was a real soul beast, and its cultivation was definitely over 10,000 years judging by its aura. Who would have thought that Ma Rulong could release a soul beast to fight for him during the competition? The monkey wasn't the only one on the offensive. 36 lightning balls had already caught up to Ma Xiaodao when she retreated before this, and it came from the Sun Moon Empire's Michael. All the lightning balls transformed into a large net that didn't have a single loophole as it bore down on her. Chen Fei, the lightning bird soul king, pounced forward beside the enormous dark red demonic ape as he repeatedly fired spheres of golden light from his hands much like before. These spheres of golden light followed closely behind the lightning balls and sealed off every possible spot that Ma Xiaodao could dodge towards. Yet, this wasn't the greatest threat that Ma Xiaodao faced. The greatest and most conspicuous threat she was facing right now was still Ma Rulong, the Sun Moon Empire's team leader. Ma Xiaodao had already been in a corner when she had moved to a spot beside Shusansha. At this moment, she was under pressure from 4 people and a soul beast, and she had no hope of evading this onslaught. Her opponent's strategy was obvious. They wanted to negate Shrek Academy's team leader's strength at once before they targeted anyone else. Just as Ma Xiaodao was entering a perilous situation, the circumstances on the other side also began to change drastically. Xiao Hongchen's face was full of proud smiles when all his soul cannons hit their targets. Shusansha had swapped him over with the mysterious netherworld displacement, but had given him a shot at fame and glory instead of helping his team. He even had the thought that he'd become his own academy's hero if he could wipe out Shrek Academy's remaining 5 members with his epic strike. He would even become a national hero. It was just too bad for that little beauty. Over. The smile on his face was quickly replaced with a haze of terror. The reason was because a sphere of golden light burst forth, as if it were riding the waves after it blocked his 128 soul cannons, and arrived right before his eyes. Subsequently, he felt as if the soul cannons on his body had grown 10 times heavier, as if they were going to drag his entire body into hell. He was afraid that this terrifying weight would tear open his own physical body. Even though he had the ability to control metal, his body was ultimately the one holding everything up, and that was flesh. He almost instantaneously severed his connections with his soul cannons, and let the dozens and dozens of soul cannons fall to the ground. The golden shadow dashed next to him in a flash and kicked him in the chest. The golden luster receded. Xiao Hongchen could clearly see the person that had just kicked him in the chest. Wasn't it the charmer with unrivaled beauty that he'd just felt bad for hurting? What's this? Xiao Hongchen's eyes widened as he couldn't believe that such a tender-looking young girl, with only 4 soul rings, could forcibly stop his 128 soul cannons. He wanted to exclaim, "Is this reality?" Jiang Nanan's kick was quite heavy, and knocked him over as he stumbled backwards. Xiao Hongchen's soul power had been heavily expended at this point, and his body weight had seemingly increased exponentially, which meant he didn't even have the means to dodge this attack. Jiang Nan leapt up the moment her kick landed on her target, before she trapped his neck in between her legs. Before Xiao Hongchen could struggle or retaliate, he felt his body weight decrease by multiple times from the previous density, and a force traveled from his neck as he was tossed away, as if he were being thrown into the clouds. Subsequently, he saw a sharp edge flickering with golden light that belonged to Dai Yueheng, the White Tiger Soul Emperor. The sharp edge was his shimmering golden tiger claw. Xiao Hongchen wanted to curse and swear. He wanted to curse at Shrek Academy's members. Why were they so perverted? Were they still people? Part 1 end here.